Welcome to Ask Earl Anything. This is the show where your questions make the show. Without your questions, I don't have a show. This is for the month of September 2023. I have a lot of questions this month, and I'm looking forward to speaking to them. Now, I also want to say thank you to all my subscribers, all the people that follow me every week, every day I put out a video, all the shows I put out. I really have a great group of people that follow me, and it's represented in the questions this month. So as we go through the questions, I'll stop periodically and explain some of the great subscribers I have who've asked some of these questions. But I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that watches every day. Without your comments and stuff, it would probably be a little less of me. Truthfully, you guys keep me going every day. And the month of August, of course, is always a tough month. I just passed my 63rd birthday. I am officially gone gray. This is the new look. By the way, I've heard this is now the new look, is the gray thing. So I'm right in it. So I guess it makes me a little bit more hip. I don't know. Don't ask me. But with that being said, let's jump into this month's questions, and we'll see where everything else goes. Now, I've made some new friends this month. One of them is the Texas Drum Channel. I believe his name is Dave. He may have one or two questions. I'm not sure. A few of these guys have asked multiple questions this month. The first question is, and this is actually like a multi-question question, so we'll start with this. And I've got a lot of questions in this vein, so there could be some crossover. All right, but let's start with the first one. So I sent him a series I have called How to Record Drum Covers. And in it, it shows my whole process for doing a drum cover, from extract stems all the way through to syncing the videos in Final Cut and making a video. By the way, let's talk about extract stems for a second before I get started. Last few months, actually the last 6 months, I'll say, whenever I get a fingerprint on my glasses, it makes it much harder for me to talk. For the last 6 months, I've been using extract stems. I paid my subscription in the end of December, as I always do. For the last 4 years, I'm in my 4th year of using extract stems. I thought it's been a really good program. I use extract stems but some of you have said to me, why don't you use Moises? You know, and early on, Moises had some really cool features for like off an iPad and stuff where you could drop in a link and it would make a video and separate it for you. Then they got in trouble with that, and apparently you can't do that anymore. Long and the short of it, I tried Moises, but I had extract stems for subscription, so I've been using it. Well, something's happened to extract stems. I don't know those of you that are extract stems user out there if you're having any issues, but you know how many videos I do a week. I mean, 6 or 7 songs a week. I have one day where I drop in some songs I want to do, and I drop it in extract stems, and I just expect it to get uploaded and come back down. I even have very fast internet. Long and the short of this, for the last 6 months, I've been doing this, and sometimes I'll upload something and it won't even get up there. It'll take me hours to do extract stem stuff. Yesterday, I got sick of it. I was trying to separate some tracks yesterday to do in the evening time, and long and the short of it, I got so frustrated. I wrote them a note. They never respond to me, extract stems. I've written emails to them. Customer support doesn't respond. I said, do you want me to go to Moises? Do you really want me to start using Moises? And that's what I left in the email. I still haven't got a response back from them. I don't think I'll ever get a response back from them, to be honest. And with that being said, I went to Moises yesterday. And Moises has a separation of not just 4 tracks, now they go 5 tracks. And Moises costs $10 less a year than extract stems. So I said, forget this. I'm going to Moises. So I use Moises on my computer now. It started yesterday. I did 6 tracks really fast yesterday. I don't foresee any reason not to go back, just go use Moises instead of extract stems. So I've got extract stems till the end of the year. But I don't see me renewing it at this point because it's been really shoddy, terrible service. But that's what that video is about. It shows you how to make a track and extract stems, and it shows you how to bring record in Logic, and then how to use plugins in Logic, and then how to take that into Final Cut. So I got a whole series on how I make drum covers. It's about 3 years old now. So I recommend you all find it. And that's what I gave to my friend, my new friend, Texas Drum Channel. So this question is, thanks for the series, leaning on some tricks, trying to try out Final Cut instead of Wondershare. By the way, Wondershare, from what I've seen, leaves a watermark on your videos. A lot of guys use it like it's free, and it's not free. Anything that's free that leaves watermarks on it or cuts the amount of time you can record something, that's not worth it to me. So I've had Final Cut now for 6 years now and love it. I had iMovie before that, and I've been using Logic for a solid 15 years probably. I used Digital Performer before that. So anyhow, I recommend using Final Cut. He says, is it possible to get more details on your multi-camera setup? I'm assuming that simply export your video from a source, phones, cameras, etc., and sync them. You stated Final Cut does that pretty good. Have you ever needed to manually sync? And I have a way I was doing it, but I was wondering if you have a better way. Okay, let's give that a shot. Now, and maybe I'll do a screenshot and do some production on this. Maybe I won't. I'm not promising that one. In Final Cut, there's a way to actually take your audio from Logic, you bring it in, you bring your video in, and then marry the audio to the video by basically just doing synchronize the video to audio. And it finds it and does it. And it does it very well. I use that a lot. Now, there are some complications occasionally, but usually that's if the camera has a complication. I used to use my iPad for a while, and every once in a while I would do a whole video and the iPad would record no audio for some reason, or very messed up audio. And that made it much harder for me, and I had to sync it. And that's why I tell guys when you're doing videos to always kind of click it off. Have a click point so you can find your click point to line your video up. So if nothing else, you have an audio click point like that to line your videos together for multiple cameras. Now, I use a multi-camera setup based on 3 iPhones. 2 iPhone 10s that are no longer in use, and my iPhone 12, which I'm using to record this today. And I use the iPhones because they're simple, easy. If you're connected to the Wi-Fi on them, you can use AirDrop and drop it onto the Mac, and it works just great. And then I bring it into the downloads and downloads into Final Cut. And then I take my music in Logic and I record it and mix it. And then I take that audio file and I bring it into Final Cut. And then I sync the video to the music in Final Cut. And it works very well. Every once in a while, I'll actually take the video stems for like multiple cameras and I'll layer them on top of each other and do the cut method. But there's another method where you can use a multi-camera, you can do like a multi-camera sync of the synced files, and you do multi-camera and it kind of just syncs them all together. And that's why most of my videos, you'll notice the cuts are kind of seamless cuts. Sometimes they even seem erratic. They're not always perfectly on crashes and stuff, because I'm actually not layering video on top of video. I'm actually using that feature in Final Cut, which allows me to just do a swipe on the screen, and I can actually cut to camera 1, camera 3, camera 2, back to camera 3, back to camera. I do it in real time. And I do it quite quickly, actually. So there are a lot of tricks to doing video, and I am very limited in my tricks, but the tricks I know, I do all the time, and I do them as best I can. So I have had times I've taken the videos, put them together. If you want to get that box effect where you have like one video here and one video next to each other, you have to do that. It doesn't work in that multi-sync video feature inside of Final Cut. But occasionally I have to line the audio up, but I don't do that very often. I usually let Final Cut do it. It does it very well. I can only think of a few times I've actually had to actually put the file there and then find the drums and kind of marry it. That's why, if you notice how they make movies in the movie business, they have that clicker, that clacker thing, clack. That whole clacker thing is an audio-visual thing. There's a visual coming together, and it clacks, and that point of clack is the audio, and that's how they sync video. They've been doing that forever. So I recommend doing some kind of a sync, be it a count off, or a speaking count off, or a click, just to basically find yourself so you can put your videos together. Anyhow, thanks for the question, Dave. I think I got another one from you. It's in a similar vein. All right, my next question comes from my friend Mickey F3730. I have a couple of Mickeys that are friends of mine now. His question is, do you ever go through dry periods where you don't want to play for a while? I have those times where I'm down on my playing and I get frustrated. Any thoughts on that? All right. Yes. I'm a human being too. I have my moments where I don't want to play. I don't feel like my playing is really happening. Maybe I'm just discouraged. Maybe I'm just bored. Maybe it's trying to find my purpose in life. Those are questions I deal with a lot. Yeah, I have my moments. For me, playing, like I said before, playing is life to me. And playing has been something that's been a big part of dealing with the last 4 years of life and getting older. So playing is something I want to keep trying to do. What I end up doing is probably lessening my output on a week when I'm not feeling up to it. But yeah, there's moments where you just don't feel like playing. Matter of fact, I'm not playing live right now. I kind of got to a rut a year ago. A good friend of mine passed away. He was in the worship band at my church. And after that, it kind of just set me off. And I was kind of like, I don't really want to go back and play. So I haven't played any live gigs in a church outside of my studio in the last year. But I have been working with a friend who's a guitar player, writes songs, and we've been recording in here. So we've done some playing together kind of thing. But I haven't done any live gigs in the last year. So that's a little different. That's a little different for me not playing live gigs. But I'm playing so much on YouTube that my chops are there. And I may get back into playing live again at some point. So, but I hope that helps you, Mickey. Hope that's a good answer for you. All right. My next question comes from my friend Greg Oneoff. He has a couple questions today too. He said, I have a question for your September Ask Earl Anything show. When tuning a large set of toms, I am referring to a large in quantity, not tom size. Is there any general rule which way you tune? Do you start at the smallest and tune down, or do you start with the largest and tune up, or it doesn't matter? All right. To be honest, I don't analyze these things very well. What I usually find is a pitch on a drum I like, and then I work from that pitch. So if it's the 16-inch concert tom, okay, now I have this 18-inch floor tom. For those of you that haven't seen it, you now know it's here. That's my bottom pitch. Sometimes I usually start with the bottom pitch, I guess. I want it to have some kind of a musical feeling to it. I can't say I always tune this way kind of thing, because I don't. But the pitches have to be relative to one another and relative to the kind of scale I'm playing in. So I guess I do tune probably from the lower pitch drum, once I dial that in, to the highest pitch drum, because the highest pitch drum you can tune up higher, and then I find the places in between. So I guess it is from low. Now let me say this to you, Greg, because I know your drum kit a little bit. We've had questions before. If you are trying to tune the same size drum to different pitches, that's not always that easy to do. Because a 12-inch tom wants to sit in a certain range, and you may get a little up and a little bit down, but it is hard to tune three 12-inch toms to all three different pitches. and get them to sound the right separation. It's almost like a third. I'm not, I should go back to my ear straining back in college. I wish I could tell you I had the note thing down and my pitch thing down, but I feel like these are actually closer because usually I have quite a difference between. Those are actually very close right now. Probably I could change that pitch. So this is more scale-like right now. But when I have two toms, I usually have a fourth or at least a third. So it has some range. Sometimes a fifth, but not very often. I don't know. Just be careful when you got drums of the same size. They become a little bit harder to tune together. So I hope that's my little tuning answer for you, Greg. All right. Got another question. New friend. At the Tired Drummer. His name is Ken, by the way. He wrote to me and he said, my question here is, do you have any muffling or dampening on your concert toms? They don't seem overly loud. Now, let me say this. There is some dampening on these concert toms, even though you really don't see them because I'm using little clear gels. This is a clear moon gel. I only have one moon gel on the thing. The other moon gel's on my snare. It's on the 8 right now. But I have these other Amazon Chinese dots that I bought. They're cheap. You get like 48 of them for like less than $10. Sometimes they work really well and sometimes they don't. I'll give you that. So I take them, I cut them in pieces, I put them on the drums, but because they're clear, you don't really see them. So there is a little bit of muting on the toms. This has got one piece. This has got one piece. This has got two pieces. This has got three pieces, but halves. It's got two pieces. This has got four. Two halves, three halves, and a whole one. And this one's got a really big one, and 2, 3 whole ones. So, plus an internal muffler that's in the drum that's on the head. So, yeah, I do muffle. But I think loudness is relative to how hard I hit. And that depends on the song. If I'm really cranking it out and I'm really hitting hard, you feel me hitting hard. If I'm playing lighter, which I do occasionally, it's going to have a different sound to it. So the velocity of the strike of the drum is going to be relative to what I'm trying to say on the drum. I'm not a one-trick pony. I all play at one volume. I play all different volumes. Matter of fact, I got a new song that I've been working on. I have 2 versions. I'm not sure which one's going to win yet. It's called Slave to the Traffic Light. It's by a band called Fish. For those of you who know Fish, it's very much a jam band song. It's 10 minutes. I play the gamut of dynamics on that song. It's all over the place. And I play all over the cymbals and all kinds of stuff. There's like interludes of nothingness, and then it builds up, and guitar solos, and it's a pretty wild song. So I feel like music is about playing the velocity, the volume you need to play to bring the song out. So when you say it seems muted, it's also, I'm like the way I kind of mix the sounds too. You know what I mean? So that's also part of it. So hopefully that's helpful to you. But yeah, there's a little bit of muting. It's not super muted. I wouldn't call these superly. I would call that super muted toms. I mean, I've muffled them down much more than that. So these are not just tea towels. So we'll leave it at that. I might have another question from you too at some point. I got another question from Mickey F3730. Asked me if I would play The Bitch Is Back by Elton John, because I had just done Daniel by Elton John. I might. I'm not sure yet. There's a couple songs like that I might do at some point. But that's a good one. It's a fast rocking one. I got another question. I did a video on called Drum Talk, which is better on a Ludwig acrylite snare drum, 30 snare strands or 10 snare strands. And I think the question was about Snare Buzz. And for me, because this is my Black Beauty, is there snare buzz? There is. But I don't notice snare buzz. That's one of my things. This came from my friend Eddie Avankin. And Eddie's done some really cool videos on the Keller drum shells and Jasper shells and Zildjian cymbals, all kinds of stuff. He's one of those guys that has some great shows. He does a lot of research and stuff. So he asked me, personally, I like both sounds, the 10 and the 30. The 10 was drier overall, which is true. The 10 strand snare wires is much drier than the 30. Curious on your thoughts how they sounded live and how they felt, sympathetic snare buzz, etc. Well, they both had a different type of snare buzz, but they had a snare buzz that was relative to the tuning of the 12-inch tom. And I don't think the 10 had less snare buzz. It just had a different snare buzz because it has less snares. So it was a different kind of drier snare buzz versus the wider snares. This got 42 strands on it. It's there. But you know what the funny thing about mixing snare drums and stuff? The snare buzz doesn't get in if you use gating on your toms. So I don't get snare buzz in my tom mics. And the snare buzz is needed to get that snare to sound the way I get it to sound. So I didn't find the snare buzz to be a problem. Now, some guys want to have it all dried up. I don't think you can eliminate snare buzz either. That's just one of those things I don't think you can eliminate. So that was a good question. Good thought process for the snares. You know, if you're thinking about being scientific. Truthfully, I'm not very scientific, so it's kind of funny I did something that was so scientific, 30 strand versus 10 strand. But I had some fun with that video. Most of you guys liked it, so thanks for all sharing on that. And thank you, Eddie, for the question. Here's another question from that video. Oh, this is the tire drummer. He asked the same question. Will more wires cause more snare buzz that I sometimes get from my toms and bass drum? By the way, I don't get much snare buzz from my bass drum. A little bit. The most snare buzz I get is from this tom, which might be a way of tuning too. I've heard guys tune this tom to get the least amount of snare buzz, then they tune all the other toms in a different direction. But that's a whole nother thing about tuning. If you're really trying to eliminate snare buzz, if you're doing that Steely Dan thing, back in the day, Steely Dan was crazy. One of the things that I've learned from drummers like Simon Phillips is Simon Phillips believes his kit sounds his way because of the snare buzz and all the tom buzz and all the things that happen to the kit together. He does not like the idea of isolating drums. He's done a whole bunch of videos on that. And I kind of come from that approach too, that, you could fix it a little bit, but if you try to eliminate snare buzz, you're going to lose something in your recording. That's just getting a little too myopic on one thing. So I try not to do that. All right. Next question was on Get Closer, Seals and Crofts. I did a crossover and open-handed playing on this. This comes from Mr. Smoocher 01. And Mr. Smoocher asks, "Hey Hammer, I'm fairly new at drumming. I'm trying to sit in on open mic night at a local biker bar. I know I can make it, but I'm not quite confident. Can you do a 10 to 20 minute instructive video on intros and endings of songs?" All right. I can't do 10 or 20 minutes on this, but I can do a few minutes on this. First off, when you're the drummer on any gig, if you're not confident counting off, let somebody else count the song off. The key is, if they count the song off, you got to follow their tempo. Now, if you're confident counting the song off, like the beats per minute of the song, that's the starting point, then you count it off and then you keep it there. That's the key to getting into a song, is knowing when to come in and making sure the tempo of the song is the right tempo for the song from the start. Now, there are tricks to this. There's a guy on YouTube I've been following for years. What's his name? Oh gosh, he's got so many subs. I see him every once in a while. He plays. He's from Canada. Something Brown. I can't remember his name. Anyhow, if I remember it, I'll put it up in the video. I want to give him credit. But he was talking about how to get into songs if you don't have a click and you're not working with an MD with a click track and all that. I've done that whole thing before. So it's much easier when you've got an MD and you've got a metronome and you go click, 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 and then you start playing with a click track. Believe it or not, the tempo is the tempo. You're stuck in it. Might be scary to you to play along with a click the whole song, but band's got to stay there. You're with the click, you stay with it. Guitar player wants to take off, sorry. Stay with the click. But counting off, Rob Brown is his name, Rob Brown. So Rob Brown said, sing the chorus of the song to get the tempo. So if you're going to count off a song, sing the chorus to it in your head, you know. So, you don't know what song I picked, but I picked a song in my head, a song by Seawin called Follow Your Road, and I just found the tempo, clicked it off, and started the song. Now, the key here is to get the right tempo to start with. So when you come in decisively, lock it in, and stay there. Now, I will tell you, one of the things I've learned over the years about playing when I start is to play simple first. Even if the part seems complex, start with simple. As a matter of fact, the best thing is to play your downbeat with just a quarter note on the kick drum until you get into the song and you understand what the song requires. It's better to start with strong downbeat on the one. If you can get used to just doing that one on the kick drum is really kind of a solid way of locking in the band. And when you're sitting in with a band or you're playing with a band, you're trying to hold the band together. That's the first thing you need to know. So play simple, play decisive, lock the tempo in. When it comes to endings, it's about watching. It's watching who's calling the endings. And if somebody's calling the endings, a lot of times they'll say one more time, or they might go, we're coming out. And endings on songs on blues things will, you know, like if you're doing a blues thing or a rock thing, will a lot of times be just to slow down. And roll out the cymbal, you know what I mean? Now, if you want to get crazy with the rock and roll endings, you got to practice that stuff. I like doing little rock and roll endings at the ends of my songs. I have a lot of fun with that. But there are some standard endings, you know, ba-da-ba-ba-da-da-da. You know, those kinds of things. You got to learn the standard endings too to kind of make it work. So, but that's a couple ideas for those things. It's not I can't write a book on it. You know what I mean? There's no standard way. I would say the most important thing in sitting in with a group is using your ears and paying attention to who's leading. Whoever the leader is, follow them. And if they start wanting, they're going, we're going out. This is usually the out sign. We're going out. Be listening for a tag. A lot of times they'll have a tag, you know. They'll tag the song at the end, like a 2-bar tag or a 4-bar tag. And then the last time it'll just do either slow down and go out, or there'll be one of those little catchy ba-da-ba-ba-da-da-da, bong, you know. And you just watch everybody. It's all about listening and watching. Listening and watching. So when you're sitting in with a band, the key thing is get the tempo right, keep the tempo there, pay attention to what's going on. It's not about the fills, it's about the pocket, it's about the groove, and it's about paying attention to what's going on. and watching your dynamics. If you're doing a jam session on blues or something, the dynamics are going to go up, and then it's going to come down, and then it's going to go up, and it's going to come down. And your ability to go up and down with the music is critical to being musical in that situation. Anyhow, that's my thought, Mr. Smoochie. Or is it Mr. Smoocher? I'm not looking at it. Thank you for the question. I think I got another question from you too. All right. Let's see. Oh, I do. Same video. You asked another question. What are your sizes of your drums and cymbals? I was playing on the Get Closer Seals and Crofts. I could tell from the picture what my setup was that day. By the way, if you want to know my setup, read the description of the video. If you read the description of the video, you will see what drum set I played that day. Now, I have a few friends that like to tell me when I'm wrong, and that's cool. If you catch me getting something wrong, you can write me and say, hey, that's not the 18-inch 2002 crash, that's the 18-inch, giant beat. You can tell me that. Because every once in a while, I just copy from another video, and I don't really overly think about it. But usually, I try to get it right. This one had it right, by the way. It was 16, 18, 2002 crashes, 22-inch 2002 ride. I had the 18-inch China right here, and I had the 20-inch Paiste 505, I believe, over here. The kit was 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So it was 2 inches off. And it was with the little Octobon, the 8-inch tom, 10-inch tom by 6.5, 12-inch tom by 8, 10 by 14, 14 by 16, 16 by 18. That was the kit that I used on that particular song. As you know, kits will change depending on the song. I did a whole video on that recently. It came out last week, I believe. So there's a whole video about why I changed drum kits and how I get into that. All right, next question. This is from a guy, Chris Bianco. He said, how about some Sabbath? All right, so somebody's asking me to play Black Sabbath. I actually have a good friend of mine, my good friend Bruce Holiday from New Jersey. He said, can you play Black Sabbath? Can you play this song? The song is War Pigs. I guess I'm going to try War Pigs someday. Even though I saw Trey B play War Pigs today, and I don't know if I want to try it, but I may try it. I'll be doing the Black Sabbath version, which is a little bit slower than the version he was doing. But Trey B is an amazing drummer. Check him out. Look up Trey B. He plays a lot of the heavier stuff. He is just a showman on top of his metal chops he's got and everything else. But I believe he's a full musician. I'd love to see Trey play something not in that heavy vein and try something outside of it. I think he can do it. I know he can do it. It's just a matter of him wanting to do it. So that's the key. By the way, the special hi-hats on that video was these hi-hats with the 505 medium bottom cymbal over the 2000 regular sound edge bottom. Love these cymbals. All right. So, yeah, I'm going to try a Black Sabbath song. When? I don't know, but you'll see it when it comes out. Let's keep going. All right, this was Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. This was another one that Texas Drum Channel asked a question. Can you make a video showing how you make videos? I'm going to leave that in the video description, my series on this, and probably need to update it soon. But hopefully that's helpful. The software I use, Logic for audio, Final Cut for videos. I use Moises for making stems now. I used to use X-Track stems. But that's that. All right. Next question comes from DS Drums, D. And his question is, my question, and this is, can't wait until your next drum talk, if you like. Is there a difference between mic placement on concert toms above the head versus inside the drum? Okay. Now, I occasionally will stick the mic inside the drums. Occasionally. The reason why you don't see me sticking the mic inside the drums with this many drums is because I use 4 tom mics in here. I don't use 8. I could. I have 8 tom mics. But when it comes to miking 8 drums from underneath, I have to have special stands and everything else. If you notice, the mics are attached to a LP claw microphone clamp. This clamps onto the tom mounts. It's isolated, doesn't make noise. So I sometimes will use these 2 clamps and put them in the 2 toms here. My toms over here, I'd have to have 2 mics to stick in the drums, which I just don't do very often. And plus, even on my other kit, I've got the clip-on mics. The E604s, these Sennheisers, they got a clip-on mic that go on the rims. That's the reason why I don't mic from underneath. Is there a difference? Yeah, there's a difference. This gives you more of the stick on the head versus the punch of the head going into the mic underneath. There's a little bit of isolation with the mic inside the drum. A little bit. Not complete isolation. But, yeah, I think there's advantages to going inside the drum versus going outside the drum. But both ways work and both ways get you what you need, the sound of the toms. So I find that this works just fine. Now I'm using, I don't know if you guys realize this, but I'm using 4 drum mics in this room, condenser mics, except for the floor tom mic. So this is a C1000 AKG overhead. I used to use these for overheads, but they've been sitting in there not being used for years because my overheads here are MK012's Octava microphones, Russian-made overheads I bought 20-something years ago now. So they're the real Russian ones. They sound great. And the other ones over there are SM81s, which are Shure SM81s, great microphones for overheads. So these were sitting in my mic locker just hanging around. And I pulled them out one day and I remembered how great they sound on toms. So I've been using these for about a year now, a year and a half. I love the way they sound. They sound great. And my mic over here is a large diaphragm condenser mic. It's a Octava 319 mic. So I use this mic for the low toms. And then over here I've got a Audio-Technica Pro 25 on the floor tom. But I've got other mics I can put. I could easily find 8 mics to put on this drum kit if I wanted to. But I'd also need to change my snake out and a whole lot of other stuff to do it the right way. And I just haven't felt the need to do it. So that's why I don't do it. But maybe someday I'll set them all up and mic every drum. I just think it's a little overkill, to be honest. So, but if I was going to mic underneath, I have to make sure I'm miking underneath. If I have all the mics in the drums, I also need special mic stands. I have some mic stands around here, but it's limited how many mic stands. I have a mic stand holding a camera over here, and I use a mic stand over there holding a camera over there. I'd have to take the camera stands down, and then I have to use just the camera stand. So it's another reason why I haven't done it. But is there a difference? Yeah, there's a difference. I think they're punchier if you're using them from underneath. This gives you a little more stick and roundness to it, but nothing I can't work with. So that's why I use it. All right. Another question. This is from Greg Oneoff. I just did a cover of Paul Revere and the Raiders on this kit. It was Indian Reservation. It was The Plight of the Cherokee Indians, I think is the subtitle of it. Paul Revere and the Raiders. And apparently they were from the West Coast. Apparently they were from Washington State, where I believe Greg lives. So he asked, do you know why the Raiders' regular drummer did not play on the record? His name is Mike Smith. Why have a session drummer, even if he is probably the best to ever pick up a pair of sticks? All right, so why did they use a session drummer, Hal Blaine, to play that session? Well, if you're to listen to Hal Blaine talk about it, or to listen to Jeff talk about it, or any of these session guys, the reason why they called session guys to do these records is because session guys knew how to get the sound and do it fast. And it's not that this guy, Mike Smith, wasn't a great drummer. He probably was a great drummer. But when it came to the studio, the creativity you needed, the ability to get the sound fast, the ability to not get the red light fever, which basically the red light comes on and all of a sudden you freak out and you don't know what to do and waste the session. These guys were pros. Hal Blaine was a pro. They knew if Hal was on a session, they'd get a track. They know if JR's on a session, they're going to get a track. They know if Jeff's on a session, they're going to get a track. And back in those days, time was money, and they didn't waste time. So they brought in the pros to come in and track this stuff and get it done quickly and make hit records. And that was the machine of the Wrecking Crew. Anyhow, that's the answer to the question. I don't know how great a drummer Mike Smith was or anything else about it, but I will tell you that tom part that's on Indian Reservation, that is Hal Blaine. That is pure Hal Blaine concert toms. And only a few guys had that kit. That kit was not common quite yet. It became more common as time went on. But back in that day, there were only a few people that had these drums, these big kits. So, and Hal was the guy that invented this kit. So, as far as I'm concerned, having him play that tom fill is money on that song. That's the money of the song. So, great job, Hal Blaine. Great question, Greg. Thanks for the question. My next question. This is from Claus. He goes by Data Slipson. Data Slipson, but his name is Claus. He asked, what's the throw off on your snare drum? It looks big and reliable. Looking to change on my snare drum. He has a Ludwig snare drum. He has a Ludwig kit. So this is I think he's talking about this drum. This drum has got the R4L, which is the Ludwig version of the Dunnett R4 snares throw off, which has the spot for the bead to get to. So it actually goes over the bead properly, and it's got the done-off swiv to it. I love Dunnett throw-offs. So the Dunnett throw-off is the best throw-off on the market in my book. Now, I've never played a trick, so maybe I'm wrong, but, for me, I've loved the Dunnett throws. I've never met Ron Dunnett, so I'm not getting endorsements for saying that, but I've got 4 snare drums with Dunnett throws on it. I've got a Gretsch snare drum with a Dunnett throw on it. I've got 2 DMR snare drums with Dunnett throws, and then I've got this Ludwig drum. So for me, that's the best throw off. Now, the P88 throw off on the new Ludwig snare drums is a great throw off, but the old P85s, not so much. They're reliable, they work, and when they worked well, but when they didn't work well, they didn't work well. And I never was a real super fan of the P85s. The P88s have got a way of controlling the snare from backing off the screw down on it, just like the Dunnett's got. It's kind of like a little spot. Well, the Dunnett doesn't have a little notch in it. The P88 has a notch and it goes click, click, click. I find it to be very good throw off. I've got it on my 6.5 by 14 Black Beauty. Good throw off. I'm not going to change it out. So the P88 or this Dunnett is the way to go. That's what I would say. So good question. Thanks for the question, Claus. Here's another question. This one comes from Jesus Molina Cabrera. And he said, hi, sir. What audio interface and PC do you use to record your videos? All right. That was on, I believe, an older video. I think it was Creedence Clearwater Revival. I can't remember the song, but it's one of those ones that seems to get a lot of views. So trying to think which song it was. It's a long time ago. Anyhow, my audio interface is a Presonus StudioLive 24x4x2 board going into a iMac. And I run Logic and Final Cut. I used to use a Motu 828, Mark III and a Mark I. I've had both of them. But since I've got this board, it just works great. So it's the old version too. It's about 10 years old easily. So, but that's what I use. Good question. Thanks. Last question and shout out. I'm not wearing my shirt today. For those of you who know, I did a whole video on the 4 words on the back of the shirt: walk, breathe, rejoice, and play. I'm going to feature whoever buys my shirt or my mugs and sends me a picture of them using them or wearing it, I will put it on Ask Earl Anything. So this month, I've got Vince Gomez. Vince Gomez has asked a lot of questions on Ask Earl Anything. Matter of fact, his question for the month is this. My question for the show is, how good does this look? Or, how many of these do you want for Christmas? The mug he's holding, okay? I'll try to get a better one for you at my drum set before the show, which he did not send me that picture, but here's a picture of Vince, and Vince wearing my shirt in yellow and drinking with the mug of coffee. Ask Earl Anything. He loves the show. Thank you for being a follower and a subscriber and watching the show, Vince. If you want to get your hands on some merch, there's merch in the store. I'm not really good at hawking it, and please like and subscribe, and please like and subscribe and buy merch and all that stuff. But Vince, thank you for the picture. If any of you buy any merch, please take a picture of yourself. I'll put you on Ask Earl Anything if you want. By the way, I still love video questions, so if next month you have any video questions, don't hesitate to send me a little clip of your video. You can send me a YouTube link, or you can tell me you've got it, send it to my email address, or email me and tell me, and I'll find a way to get that video to me. Some of you have my phone number. Some of you will just text it to me. I mean, I've had it all different ways, but anyhow, I love video questions. So I'm trying to be a little bit more high-tech and Ask Earl Anything. Anyhow, that's all I got for Ask Earl Anything. Thanks for the questions. Remember, your questions make the show. Without your questions, I don't have a show. Love you guys. You guys really brighten up my month and my day. I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can, having as much fun as I possibly can. Your questions really do make it fun. Thank you all for watching. And have a great September. We'll talk again next month. Bye.